years.
When is the budgeted amount on here?
The budgeted amount is for 2024. At the bottom, the FY estimate.
Oh, okay.
So that's what the city had budgeted between the two, and then the actuals for 2023 are listed, broken down between Sewage and Water Board and DPW.
So the budget for 24 for the Sewage and Water Board was 22 million was estimated. And to date, through the third quarter, you're at 7, 11, about
15.
About half of that.
Yeah.
I know hotel is lost. I know the hotel business is down. They had a horrible summer, but I didn't know it was down that much.
Yeah, Greg, you asked that question, and I did reach out to our revenue department. They didn't have anything off the top of their head. They did say that they still had to true up the numbers. So I don't know if there's another reconciliation, maybe there's delayed payment. I don't know the exact details behind that. But they said in the next payment that it will get caught up with those amounts.
Well, 11, the fourth quarter should be
It's the biggest quarter, but it's
should be a big quarter.
It's not nearly.
This is December. You don't have October in this.
No.
Why don't you have October?
They have not reconciled it completely.
Well, I would be, just knowing that most of this is coming from the hotel and hospitality industry, this has not been a great year, but it hasn't been off by 50%. So is there any way, at what point will the revenue department?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that we're only a million off of last year.
So we made how much ground? We made a lot of ground on the last quarter in 2023 also to get to the 21.
Yeah, it's the last quarter's like 5 million, it looks like, so.
What are y'all looking at, the lost penny
I
or
get
what?
what you mean.
Or the total?
I look at 2023 as a 10-1 on the bottom of the total. Sewage and Water with 12 million 857 compared to 12 million.
Oh, I see, it's compared to 11 million now.
We're down by a million.
So we're off about a million and a million
Might be
three.
right.
We're off about a million three. That could be right, although the fourth quarter should be really strong. October was a very strong month.
That would be Taylor Swift.
But you're right, traditionally, those are the better months too.
And did the city calculate the same in 2023 as you're calculating now? Should we think, are those apples and apples 23 as of October 1st and 24 as of October 1st?
Yeah, those are apples. to apples.
Okay.
We used to see the occupancy numbers. Doesn't someone collects those publicly, don't they?
I'm sorry?
We used to see the occupancy numbers, the tourism
The Walls
numbers.
and Company does.
Yeah, Nolan's and Company,
They have that data.
maybe buildings.
Who's based that on?
Yeah, I think you're right. That might be helpful.
Well, I am being involved in a couple of hotels, I can tell you it's all.
Yeah.
That being a million three off from last year sounds about right. However, the fourth quarter, October should have been stronger than last year.
So Paul, based upon your knowledge and based upon the occupancy to this point, do you think there will be sufficient increase in activity to catch up on that differential that exists as of the end of the quarter?
If we're a million and three behind, and considering that last year was 21, call it 21.9, call it 22 and 22. We might wind up about a million below the 22.2.
Unless October proves more.
Based on where we are now and the fact that I don't know, we're a million behind now, and the fourth quarter is strong, but I don't know if it's going to be that much stronger.
But Paul, isn't it a function not just of occupancy, but rates and this is just
Both.
anecdotal for me, was that the rates have materially improved from October forward. It would be
Rates and occupancies, actually.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah,
Now, you question what the last half of December is gonna be like. Okay, so we might be, from right, I mean, it wouldn't be off,
That much.
to say by the end of the year, we might be off $1 million from that budget. We'll see. Do you expect the figures to be reconciled anytime soon for October? And the question,
I know
the
this September,
follow-up question would be, if so, could you send it to us?
yes,
Rather than wait to the next meeting?
I think the September reconciliation came in like 3-4 weeks, so I expect the next one to come in.
And any chance you could send Rebecca an updated copy and she can send it around
Yes.
for October? That would be helpful. Any other questions on
Oh,
this
yes,
slide?
sorry, yeah. no.
Go ahead, please.
All right, so this is just keeping the same slide up, slightly changed from the last one. I spoke with Rick and he said there was no change. They're still waiting for, the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras to happen to initiate that construction.
So they put the job off instead of separating it.
Yeah, so they initially it was designed with a certain pavement that didn't work well under the demonstration project, so they had to revise plans. I believe those revised based off of this were received already, so I'm just delaying the bid until.
You don't know if the estimates came in budget, or you don't know anything.
I know we have an estimate, but without the bids, don't know where exactly.
Are they in the process of selecting the company or?
No,
Okay.
no,
Bids are out?
excuse me.
The bids are in or?
No, they have not, we haven't not gone out to bid.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're going to try and delay the bid until maybe after or around the Super Bowl so that we can have the paperwork routing
Wait,
to
did
get
you
it.
say the bids or the request for bids? What are you referring to?
Well, the request for bids, like, I don't know when we're gonna go out for bids. I imagine we could do it prior so that we can get everything
You
moving
can put out the bids
After
now
the
with
Super Bowl, you put it out after the Super Bowl, you know.
for a while.
Partially, if you put the bids out now and have a start date about the Mardi Gras, you can put that in the documents out. I'm just surprised they haven't taken the bids yet. I understand the put back, because what if you get, if you have an issue? That's just a little, I would have thought by now that they had the bids.
Alright,
We'll talk
I
to
can-
them about that.
yeah, all right, because I'll certainly mention it to Rick when I speak with him.
Yeah, because,
Next slide.
Yeah.
And this is just an overview of how DPW has been spending their portion of the $5 million in fair share money. The other operating on the right is kind of just an overview of what had already been provided, and then I expanded on the streetlight technology pilots. So the city went out for these pilots, selected 5 firms. We weren't able to come to agreement on the terms with the 5th firm. But all of them are LEDs, have certain smart technologies with them, and they cover 4 different zones. So, Rebecca?
Next one,
No, like, do you have the?
the website, I
Yes.
sure do have it open. One second.
So the CAO's office with the city put together this overview of the different pilots and what is involved.
Hold on one second. Here we go.
And then, yeah, if you just scroll down and then, this is in the notes of the PowerPoint. I believe it's open to anybody outside of the city network. So you can see the zones. I think the zone 2, the Ferret one, I think that's the vendor that we could not come to terms with. But this website, as you scroll down, will show the different vendors, the type of technology that they're implementing, and the idea is from these pilots, the city will have a better idea of kind of what other improvements that they may want to make citywide.
So where, is this a website, a public website you say that we can,
It is available to all, but it's not posted anywhere online.
okay, where could we see it?
If,
I
yeah,
have the link, I'll send it out.
yes. And so, yeah, if you just keep on, so one's around the Superdome. And a lot of these will have technology that will allow DPW to identify if they're down. Many of them don't have copper, so it would reduce theft. And
What will happen with
What
that?
is the
zone?
conductor if it's not copper?
I think they're just solar, a lot of them are solar powered.
What's gonna happen with that zone 2 then?
I do not have an update on that. I imagine they're just not going to go through with that pilot. I don't know if the intent is to try to find a similar firm to do. I think the difference for that one on Ferret Street, it had a parking component to smart technology where it would be able to identify open spots. I don't know if there's, fluctuating maybe the amount that would be charged for parking due to, different factors.
Did we able to find any local firms that could do this?
Yes, I think this one,
Okay, yeah.
All-Star,
All-Star Electric?
yes.
Okay, all right.
I think there might be another one, but I do believe the other ones are.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Good?
They partner with EVs, but they partner with.
As long as, we'll know it's successful when the light at Toledano and Claiborne
Oh, God.
works.
As a neighborhood association president of Alpha Triangle in Toledano, how can we please get it?
I left in May and I came back.
The street lights working.
It is, yeah. There's still a lot of work going on in Toledano.
And then, we're trying to amend the concrete and specialty sidewalk contracts for the CBD and French Quarter to double them and then continue to work around the Super Bowl. And then this last slide is just what was proposed in the budget for next year. There's no change on the other operating, still the same 5 million, 23 million between sewage and water board. The change was on the personnel side, so DPW was budgeted 12 new positions, so a 1.2 million increase.
Tell me about the 23 and the 5, that's proposed for 2025?
Yeah, so I think, isn't it, the 18 is what comes through the taxes, and then the extra 5 that the council has been doing brings it to the 23.
So what is the 23 for the sewage and water board mean? What is that? Is that designated is that drainage or what is that?
That's just I think the 18 is what we collect through all the different taxes and transfer over to sewage and water board, and then,
Their share.
But the share of sewage water within the city's been given 5 extra million to sewage water.
But that 5 million is designated to,
The small drainage.
no, not in writing. In writing, it's designated to serve drainage projects. But due to ongoing conversations with council and the CAO, they want us to move that 5 and put it toward small drainage. And we can talk more
I'll
about
talk
that
that
later.
later, yeah.
Well, but the total here of $28 million, that now represents the consolidated DPW and sewage and water into
No, there's no consolidation
No
money
consolidation,
in there.
This is different, this is that should, hopefully that's another budget somewhere.
That's just the annual budget.
So I'm confused. What is this? This is operating funds that the city's giving to DPW and sewage and water board. It has nothing to do with drainage.
It's the fair share money.
Huh?
It's just the fair share money.
This is the fair share.
Yeah.
It's just a fair, this
And that's how it's gonna
is,
break down, right?
that's what I was thought
The
about. it.
18 plus the 5 that you got back.
This is what's projected
For,
because the projection of 28 million comes from 23 plus the other 5.
yeah, got it.
So I think
18.
since the slide is our last conversation I had with the CAO, and I have to clarify. My understanding was that 5 million from DPW, the 25%, which what this 5 represents, is supposed to go to us moving on, starting in 25.
We're dedicated to drainage.
So the 75-25 split would no longer exist and would get 100%. I have not seen that in writing, but I've heard it directly from Gilbert. So I'm surprised to see that continues to be reflecting past.
So the
I will
28
clarify, this is the proposed budget. They haven't posted the adopted budget yet, so I do know that I didn't think DPW had any impact from the council changes that, so if there could have been potential change from what had been proposed.
So the 5 million, you said 18 plus 5 for the 23, that 5 million is the 5 million we were supposed to get, you were supposed to get.
It's not new money.
This, you're saying that this 5 million from DPW should go now at
Huge
starting.
to the small pipes. That's
For the
what
small
That's what everybody
drainage.
thought, but
Okay,
that's what I thought too.
yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, what, may I ask regarding personnel services, you carry that as a separate budgetary item, not included in the 5 and the 23 at all?
Correct.
And so it was increased from whatever the number was, it was increased by $1.2 million from 24 to 25.
Correct, the new amount for 2025 is the 3.2 million.
Right.
So last year was the.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Kyle, what was your last name?
Holman, Homan.
Thank you.
Okay, but moving on to the presentation by the Surgeon Water Board.
I think we've got smart people.
All right. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Caitlin Timrak, Deputy Superintendent, great to see you all. So exciting news on our smart meter. I do have some updated numbers here to share. Yesterday, we actually held a fantastic press conference. We got to celebrate the installation of the 70,000th, that is a way to pronounce that, smart meter installation. So it was really exciting, and kudos to that whole team, and Sam got to make the connection, and it was a lovely afternoon. So right now, the number is 70,281 that are installed and integrated. And I know we've talked about a lot of this at length, so I'm just going to go through some of this quickly, but did just want to reiterate that we're seeing a lot of customers with continuous usage alarms. So we're seeing, these smart meters pick up on leaks and, encourage almost half of those who are receiving those letters are taking action. But, just a reminder that is one of these huge benefits of that. And so as we move on, we can go to the next slide. Also incredibly exciting is our new customer portal. So that was launched, I think, right before Thanksgiving. And as of, we do have those right numbers. So we have over 43,000 active registrations, which is really great. We're continuing to push that. It is available to all customers, whether or not you have a smart meter or not. So you will be able to see some of the billing activity. But you do have to take action to do that. Unfortunately, we were not able to continue
So
to count.
somebody has to know about it.
They do.
Go to your website, and your website is directed how you can activate your meter.
Your account.
Registration of 43,000, pretty impressive.
It's pretty easy to do too, and they
I
notify.
just got my smart.
We 100% actually at the end of the day, even before the smart meter program is fully completed.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't have a smart meter, but I did register.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, it's for you, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, and our communications team has done a fantastic job.
So, once you give me the smart meter, how do you registration?
I don't know, my wife's in charge of that, so I doubt we've done it yet. I'll have to look into that.
We know you got a smart meter.
Just to note, you do need your account number in order to register. And we have been actively communicating with customers, giving those people who were past portal members their account number, communication with that, the account number, their information on how to set up that account. So that's ongoing communication we're doing.
You have to change the password, so yeah.
Change password.
Very good.
All right, next slide.
So next slide. So in that first slide, it was really exciting to see the map filling in with dots. This is equally exciting to me because the map is emptying, and this is a direct result of IAB funding. So Network Zone 7 has done a really good job over the last 18 months of staffing up and being able to keep our backlog static. But IMF funding is directly responsible for taking us from 3,000 plus work orders in mid to late 2023 down to 340 as of this last week. I think it was 337 today. The average is actually about 40 days right now, and that should be shrinking pretty substantially. That was as of the end of Q3. So continue to expect to see those timelines drop and see that map get smaller and smaller. So that's really good stuff. And that was one of our primary complaints from customers. You make a hole and now it sits. So there's two things we're going to focus on in 25 and going forward. The first is the quality of paving, making sure we're getting good compaction, because as we're getting to things faster, the cars aren't doing the compaction for us. We actually have to do it so that we don't have pavement sinking. The second thing is there will be a push at some point here in the next year for folks to report cuts where we made a cut and it didn't get reported. Because I have at least 2 of those on Leonidas as I drive to work where I know we made the cut. It looks like our work, but it's not in the system, so that could mean a misreferral. So we'll be focusing on those things.
So Steve.
Yes.
People don't know whether you made the hole or not.
Yep.
And so I have this discussion with people all the time, and I tell them the progress we're making, I say that's wrong. How do we deal with the fact that there's holes in the street that are just, people don't understand the difference, whether it was a broken water line or whether just a hole developed in the street.
Deterioration of existing pavement.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring
Or
up.
someone else made it.
And again, like, we're doing great work here, we're very excited about it, but that there is a perception because the streets are in disrepair, nothing to do with this. And,
Yeah, so it's a
I'm
great
glad Rick's
question.
not here for what I just said, but he actually said it to him, but you know, you shouldn't go out and try to figure out what's a way of trying to get credit for Surgeon Water Board and not being negative on the city with streets. I'm just trying to, has this come up before, or is this?
It has, absolutely. And like I said, I know there's at least 2 in my commute to work where I know one of them, and I've reported it. We can miss referrals. It happens. I mean, out of the 30,000 work orders that we're going to close this year, the odds are unfortunately not 0 that you're going to have a couple of locations or a handful of locations. And unfortunately, that one is too many. So if we go to the next slide, something I want to point out, it's not on the slide, but I wanted to mention on the right-hand side, what you see is a picture of our work order dashboard, which should be public on our website. And it's not going to be up immediately, but it will be shortly. We're bringing back some staff for a maintenance escalations email so that customers can have direct access to concierge service, because in order to answer that question that you're asking, it's not real simple. You have to go back and look at historical work orders to see, did we do a sewer repair, did we do a water repair, and then did it not have the paving referral? So we're in the process of standing that up and being able to answer.
So maybe this site available that could help.
Yes. That's the goal, is to get our customers, because to your point, I could get out and show the previous slide and be like, yeah, this is great. And then one person in the audience would be like, hey, y'all cut my street up 5 years ago and you never came back. So clearly you're lying.
Right. And there's also other holes that are.
Totally. Entergy's done it once or twice too. If it happens, but having a vehicle by which to capture that is key.
Very good.
So great question. And yes, that's in the works too. In the last quarter, we asked for some additional support for water and sewer repairs. And in 2025, my view is paving, we're on a path with inertia to where it's sustainable. My goal would be to not ask IAB for funding on this anymore, because we've eaten the elephant. Let's stay that way. We're going to be focusing on water because we have a backlog of almost 1,500 work orders. The timelines are not nearly as bad as paving, but we're going to have to focus really hard on that in 2025. And the funding that you all provided last quarter has been really helpful in water and sewer repairs. Some smaller repairs, but on the next slide, we've got a couple of examples of larger items. Does everybody recall the leak at the HOV lane that went on for about a decade? The repair on that was expensive. What we ended up doing, this is a liner. So the repair was surfacing at the HOV lane, but it was running through, it's under the railroad track, so there's a casing around it. And so we had done repairs before and it just kept popping up further down the line. And so what was probably happening is we had a leak somewhere in the tracks, it was just surfacing at the end of the case. So we ran, with IAB funds, we were able to run a liner, so we're all gonna be long gone before this would ever be an issue again. This is one example. We had a couple of sewer repairs, one at Lafitte and Galvez and another out in Gentilly, both long-standing recurring issues that funding was able to help. So really important and helpful work, and there's one example. On the next slide, wanted to touch base on the water quality master plan. That is moving along really, really well. End of 2025, probably October, that should be finished. Just wanted to include an illustration. We've been talking about it. This is a physical photograph. We are at the very tail end of testing our lead service lines, which we'll talk about more on the next slide as well, and looking at the chemistry of our water system and what can we do. CDM has already had some really good recommendations on some potential pilots for different coagulants that can enhance our operations and also help with corrosion control. So making some really good progress there. The lead service line replacement program, the inventory went live on October 15th. We have a loan that will close in December of this year for the first $86 million from state revolving funds. We've also applied for $66 million next year. And then we have 2 contracts that are bidding right now. We actually received proposals on the program management on Tuesday and got 6 proposals. So really looking forward to scoring those. And then we also have a hard bid contract for potholing and service line replacements that should be opening here in the next couple of weeks. So really exciting work going on there with the lead services. Really looking forward to getting that launched in earnest in 2025. On the next slide, I'll turn it back to Caitlin to talk about the power complex.
Yeah, so you've got a couple of progress photos here. So we had actually had quite a bit of progress in the last few months. Turbine 7 was delivered. We will have all static frequency changers on site by the end of the year. We also completed the utility rack and began actually pulling cable across the utility rack, for which it is intended. And starting really the installation process, starting commissioning planning and all of that. So lots of good conversations happening. The other photo here is a photo of the cable that we have in storage. So the cable we purchased and have in storage with our contractor. It's a lot of cable, yeah. So things are moving along. It's really exciting. And yeah, there's a lot of work going on out there right now. But we're really
Department of Energy grant secured. Is that what we're trying to get through the state?
It's the next one.
That's
yeah, well, yeah.
And that's the state half of the 2034?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So we've got it?
Well, so it's being admitted through the state, right?
I'm sorry?
So the funding is being administered through the state.
Got it.
And they are setting up their program. It's a large grant for them to manage, and so they have to set up their procedures and processes, and they're doing that. But we're in contact with them. We will be a subrecipient we'll be working through a subrecipient, so there's these administrative things to go forward. So
Does the state have the money already?
it's been obligated, is my understanding. I believe that's the case,
So
so.
they can't take it back?
I don't think so.
You know where I'm going. Things
The
will change.
grant agreement is signed.
Things are
It's been
gonna,
appropriated.
okay, things are gonna change after next month, Paul's friends.
But what hurdles does the state have to have absolute assurance that the funds are in hand? What are their hurdles?
Right.
But we just, we'll go ahead and answer that question, but the city has already fronted the 18 million, have they not? Both of them.
The half goes on matches.
Yes.
So they've got it, this is to reimburse the city.
We're talking about the original grant itself
That's-
is gonna get processed,
So
our matching funds.
The overall cost is about, let's say, 35 million.
Yeah.
17 is coming from the grant. And the rest comes from somebody else. In this case, it's the city, obligated 14 million.
But what a councilman told me, okay, that because of the concern about how long it would take to get from the grant from the federal government, that the city was gonna front that 17 million, that second 17 million, to make sure you all had. That's not true.
But I think at this time, the timeline is okay. We're fine. We have the 50%, so to speak, local share. We're gonna get the 17 million through the grant. And then we'll deliver the project.
Okay, so I'm sorry I interrupted your question, David.
No, that's very helpful. I guess the obvious concern I have with money is in the hot little hand of the city. It's of some anxiety to assure that you will receive the fund because the other allocation is available. But if you let's just assume that some delay with the funds you have on hand, I assume that you can proceed for the next number of months that would be necessary with the additional grant to be received. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, we have the flexibility of controlling the timeline and let it reflect the process that it will take for us to get the money. So we will deliver the power complex in the middle of next year, before the peak season. This money will support additional improvements that we've talked about. And it's not as time sensitive, and then we can control that timeline based on when we get the money. So we don't have any concerns today. Obviously, if things change, we'll let you know.
I guess that's what I would ask, if you get to a point where you're getting anxious about it and things get held up too longer than you'd like, just wave a flag.
We'll lean on you.
Yeah.
I will say that we have the CEA for the 14 million that the city has committed has been reviewed, and that's being routed right now.
Okay, great, thank you. One question.
Should be next, we should get a report on that next time, right?
I'll include that in the next.
So the, one question I've got is, we had a bust in one of the estimates, okay, so we've also put up, I think, $10 million from Fair Share to help you get started with that contractor. That 10 million was to stay in a contingency fund until you got far enough along in this that you realized that you would not have another overrun. At what point do you think you would be able to know that? Sometime mid next year?
Maybe a little later than that, but yeah, sometime next year.
Second to third quarter?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think the next slide is just on that topic, and then we can go on to the next couple. Next slide.
Yeah, thanks. So the revenue report, at this point, we have, as we talked about earlier, through September numbers, 72.8 million has been received by Food and Water Board. We've expended 36.1 million. We have 65 million projects allocated. So putting the money to use, and very, very appreciative of this consistent funding source. We've just been going through our budget right now for fiscal 25 to finish that up by next week. So we have these projects that we talked about identified, and then I guess a report on the last 3 months. We talked about a little bit lower numbers, so hoping to see improvement as we discussed earlier. And then the major expenditures really since the last quarter, as Steve mentioned, the critical network distribution repairs, the paving, and the power complex, as well as smart metering program management. So all of those continuing. Let's go next slide.
Can I have just one question? So I understand that. If we could go back to this slide for a second, please, Rebecca. Well, I can answer the. So what you're really saying is you spent, as I remember, 36 million. You got 72 million allocated, and you've got 65 million. So effectively, you've allocated projects to be paid for by Fair Share, money that's to be coming in. Is that how I should understand that slide?
Yeah, that already exists and coming in combination, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This slide is just, we don't have any requests today for the advisory board, but just wanted to put these down to think about as we get into '25, smart metering project, potential change orders and enhancements to complete that. So potentially about 8 million there. We should have some more updated numbers next quarter. The drainage stormwater rate study, like to continue with Raftellus. We don't have the full proposal yet, but that's something that's probably coming soon.
That's the completion of the rate study we already started. Raftellus, this is the 2025 budget we're going to have for some, like the extra work we all agreed that needed to be done.
It's to continue with the study itself, so it doesnit sit idle.
Ready to go when it's.
When do you anticipate that the study would be completed?
Well, it depends on how aggressively we want to fund it and present it, given the political situation next year being an election year. We don't suspect it's going to be discussed that much publicly, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done just to be ready and keep it moving in the right direction.
Do you have a working estimate of what it will cost to complete the study?
We're waiting for what 25 would cost, and then we'll come back and present you with that. But it will cost more beyond that once we agree on the structure itself publicly, and we need to, make it more complete. So we're looking at about maybe 250,000 for next year, roughly.
We talked about the 3 million matching will come later next year, and then finally, as Steve mentioned, to continue to focus on water and sewer critical repairs. We see that as a potential avenue to supplement our regular O&M budget and capital budget for critical repairs of our problems. I think that is something on the next slide. Yeah. So looking forward to getting, like we said, October and the Q4 numbers. We had to kind of temper the 25 numbers for our forecasting, but we still do have some cushion to look at those potential new projects, but not a lot really because we allocated the majority to these things we talked about. So happy to answer any questions on the financials.
Billy Thompson.
Yeah, is this, the work order slide that you showed earlier, is that from a new work order system? Or what happened to the asset management program and the changeover of the work order system and all that? Because that was on our list at.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, that's from Castle, that's from the old one, but
This is
the
from
new
Castle.
project, asset management readiness study is underway, and Steve, do you want to add anything to on the asset management RFP project?
Yeah, so the RFP continues to be developed. We're going through the final components of the needs assessment that will be issued and started in earnest.
Is that on our list?
Yes.
That's, yeah, okay.
Freeze Nichols is the,
Freeze Nichols is
they're,
programming,
the consultant working with us on the,
preparing the RFP? Okay.
Any other questions?
I got a couple of questions.
Thank you.
And it might be unrelated, but it's a little bit related. So in 2025, y'all are going to take over the small pipes, sort of more. So what is the situation with the budget for that? And where do y'all stand? I got some follow-ups, but like give me a, 5 billion we talked about. Has been promised from the city, from the IMF. What about those street lights? Is that, not the street,
Check the red
I get them all the time, I should know what this is.
Street violation.
I'm a very good contributor to that.
Keep paying those, that's your civic duty.
So where we are today is we have a CEA to formalize that transfer, and it is supposed to be effective on January 1st, that we will take over. So that is pretty much done. What continues to be unknown or fairly vague is the amount that comes with that transfer. So what we know is that there's a source of funding coming from the red light cameras, but we've yet to know, to be
No,
told.
there's no estimate on what that's.
That is correct, and the city is trying their best to quantify what that amount would look like. So that is a secure source, so to speak, but it is a known amount.
Yeah.
There's the 5 million that we're told, or at least for us, that not new money, but the 5 million that would be designated to the small pipe, what's minor drainage. We're hoping that what Gilbert indicated to me, that the 25% will be transferred over to the city, so we will make sure that that 25 is designated to the minor drainage system. And as far as I know, these are the 3 known possibilities and potentials, and that would obviously dictate the level of service and what we can do come January.
So my next question, Bob, so January, you take it over.
Yes.
And how are you preparing today to take over something you don't know? Like it takes lead times and stuff like that, so we're just kind of in a gray area, so we got to get on.
Is it people too, or equipment
We
people?
will get equipment, but not no people, which was mutually agreed to. We're fine with that.
They don't have to.
We've been, Steve and his team has been chopping at the bit, so to speak.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to
hit
start
the
in
ground running.
January, and you don't know what your budget's going to be. It's going to be very difficult to get it started.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
I've been saying the same thing that you've said, that tell me how much money we're getting so we can start in January. We have a contract that is written, so we can bid it out once we know what that amount is. And it takes time, it takes 2 to 3 months before it's received. So we're behind the 8 ball, so to speak, in terms of starting what we want to start.
But is there a transition team between the city and the Sewage and Water Board to implement this on January 1?
But there's been a lot of transitioning happening behind the scenes. Steve and his folks have been talking to DPW, learning their system, the backlog, their equipment, anything that's pertinent and relevant. So we're ready. It's just that scale remains to be unknown today.
And again, the reason why and again, this might be off the subject, but I think it's a good subject. So we fought for 3 years to get the $10 million to get the catch basin start to get clean. Finally got that done. And what I'm worried about is the first quarter being a gap, because you don't know what money you're getting.
Yeah.
Here we are, to me, and we've asked the city, I don't know if it's this group, but we have personally gone and asked the city for a certain budget for this allocated, and we really don't know. So you really don't know if it's going to be 12 million or 22 million or maybe 5. That's good.
Well, we know it's 5.
Yeah.
We know that there will be some violations thanks to people like you. And then we're hoping that 25% will be transferred. So we're hoping it's at least 10 to 15.
Yeah.
And obviously that will reflect the amount of work we can do.
So what was DPW's budget for the same services?
They had limited budget historically, like less than 2
The
million.
only money was the ARP, the 10 million of ARP.
Literally, it was not funded at all.
It was in response to disasters, maybe FEMA money came in. Prior to Isaac, they did have Magnum as on their contract, but DPW never got another contractor on board after that because it wasn't funded.
But that leads to a question. So you've had a contract out there for a year, go through the worst 3-1.
Yes.
And so does that give you a sense of what's, I realize that that's the worst, maybe the rest is not as bad. Does that give you a sense of what you're going to need to do?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll let you answer in a minute, but we've met with the contractor to learn what they're doing and how they do, what they would do things differently in terms of the items and what they look like. And we will we're willing to make adjustments to make it more effective and more efficient. But yes, I mean, they have a great idea of what's going on in the city and where to go, so they're gonna, wherever they are.
And they would bid to y'all.
They would bid.
They're interested in continuing, so that's good.
Yeah, my concern is that gap.
No,
There's no
I
reason for it, but it might happen, so see better.
Yeah, no, so anecdotally, we know that when the catch basins and storm drain lines get cleaned, things perform better. I mean, it makes good sense, right? But looking at the Holly Grove neighborhood in particular, or Broadmoor, I should say. So the Broadmoor neighborhood during Francine, I mean, that was the first series of phone calls I made was to folks in Broadmoor, and from what I understand, the system performed well in Broadmoor. I did not hear reports of flooding, and Broadmoor's been one of the key focuses for DPW in cleaning and clearing catch basins and laterals. So it makes a big difference. And there are a handful of things that have been going on since June. So I have a leadership team of 2 folks, one of whom handled DPW's cleaning program before he took a job with the Sewage and Water Board. They've put together a whole org chart that we're ready to build out. We plan on taking possession of those trucks January 1. And if we have to have shift work, we can at least do as much as we can. But the root issue is having committed funds. We're obtaining a proposal now for the designer who handled the oversight of the cleaning to be able to issue that January of next year. And then we also have a bid package, 2 bid packages that are ready to be advertised for physical cleaning and point repairs. But I need to have a budget number to be able to put into those to comply with state bid law, and then also to have something for contractors to be able to turn it.
From a personnel perspective, you have to ramp up, hire more people.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to commend you, I want to say there are a couple of folks that I know that come through, that work for you, that have been promoted, been advanced, gotten their CDO license, gotten increases and things like that. So I don't know who's in charge of that. I'm sure you're all in charge of everything, but it's great to see you pointed to individuals who are now growing and so forth.
Absolutely. Not to shift gears too much, but Master P was at the business lunch today and had some really good comments about like individuals growing in their careers, and the Sewage and Water Board is a place for folks to be able to do that. So
some really guys that are really great stories.
Yeah.
So we need to get, our group needs to get on this right away.
Yeah, I have a meeting with Councilman Giruso after this.
Oh, today?
Today, just to see where he's
Here,
at.
as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
In a
Bill's
secret
gonna be
room.
Are you gonna be in the room too?
I'm not allowed.
It's so secret, everybody now knows about it.
On the record.
So, but I think and I appreciate you bringing all that up. I think the bottom line is, the answer is not this back and forth and how much money for the sustainable and high level of service. Stormwater fee has to happen to afford both systems. So the level of money has to be higher, level of service has to be higher. That's why that money that we'll ask you for is critical. We know it's not gonna happen in 25, we're realistic about it. But that conversation has to continue, so in 26, we can hit the ground running.
Yep, okay.
A suggestion, once you find out how much money you have, it wouldn't be a bad idea to let the public know, this is what we've been allocated, this is what we can do.
Absolutely.
To manage
I mean,
expectations.
what I hate to see, what I'm worried about, that's why I brought this up, is like, so you saw a little progress. And what I hate to see is a gap develop. That to me is where this city's, that's our, just no reason for that. We just need the kids.
Yes.
Yep, sorry.
Any other questions? You know, I do know somebody who's working on a retention project, and I think he'd like to talk to you about it if
We'll
figure
love
out,
that
or
part.
somebody in your
Yes,
organization.
yeah.
Yes.
A lot of
Okay.
my folks know about it already and they're looking at it.
Okay. So, next on the public comments, do we have any? No public comment. Okay, we suggested, and we sent this out early, 4 suggested meeting dates. I don't know whether we sent that to you guys. I hope we did. For the meetings in 2025, are these okay with everyone? Okay. Well, if I could have a motion to adopt these.
Motion to adopt these.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Any other business?
I just had other business before that.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, that was drainage consolidation working group updated.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I've been dealing with him for 40 years. I'm working.
That's why he's sitting next to you.
Any other questions? Any other business? Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Keep on speeding.
Yeah, David, keep speeding. The wife's on me. I don't intentionally do it, I'm just.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming here and doing that. I know it was critical, I'm just.
I
I'll give a whole life.
End of the school day.
But it is true that.
Yeah, I thought we had meeting at 9:30, so
I thought you did a great job. You're supposed to do great work.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't. Okay, so you're not, okay, great.
Recordings, yes, I was expecting it to be.
I was expecting to do well, I didn't want to say anything. Do well. I am, thank you.
Yes.
You need every call, right?
No, this is where the real work begins.
You know what? All 1,600 of those probably right in front of my house. That's